Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tex Messages. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're glad to have you here on this Saturday morning, April 21st, 2018. Looks like we got about 60. Looks like the high today is going to be about 60 degrees. So that's 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot to engage some of the lighting here. Looks like the high outside is going to be about 60 degrees. Pretty much most of the snow is melting, so that means probably about another month we'll have to take the plants from inside and then transplant them outside. And they're growing pretty decent. They haven't had a lot of sunlight in the last couple weeks. So I mean, the first week or two they don't really need sunlight because obviously they don't have any leaves, so don't even have any solar collectors on them. But once they start getting leaves, then you really need to put them in the south-facing window, and then they need to get a good amount of sun too. And then make sure just to monitor the soil as well, just to see that it's not dry enough. I mean, if the soil looks dry, put in water. That's about the degree of difficulty as far as that goes. And each pot, make sure it just has one plant, one sprout coming out of it. If you put 2 or 3 seeds in and all 3 of the seeds sprout, then clip 2 of them and just let one of them grow. Doesn't really matter which one you let grow. I usually try to get the one closest to the center. There's probably no rhyme or reason for that. It just seems that that's a logical thing to do. But I don't have any science to prove that that's definitively the correct thing to do. So, use your own accord, use your own judgment to decide which sprouts to cut and which not to cut. And probably looks like usually late May, early June is about the latest that you want to have the plants outside. And then just remember, before you put the plants outside permanently, stick them outside in the shade for about a week and bring them back inside at night, and just so that they can transition to being outdoors. So just make sure you do that, ladies and gentlemen. It's important. Now, starter plants don't always work, but it's important to try to get them to work because a packet of seeds with, a couple packets of seeds with a few hundred plants is not even $5. And if you get a few hundred starter plants, probably be $300 to $500. So it's a lot of money. If you're buying starter plants, yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money to eat your own food. But if you're, even if you collect seeds and save them for the year before, then it'll be even cheaper because you won't really have to pay anything. You just had to make sure you save those starter plant containers and reuse them too. A lot of them are pretty cheap, but maybe the older ones are a better quality. I'm not really sure. I just get the newer ones from Menards and call it good as far as that goes, and then bring them outside. And yeah, I always hope for the best then. And if you get seeds that are a few years old, some of them will sprout, some of them won't. So it's not really a crapshoot. It's more than not ones that are over 5 years old. If you get a packet of seeds that's over 5 years old, they're probably not going to do anything. So I wouldn't hang your hat on them. So there's one year where I had I had these older seed packets, and I didn't bother to start them or anything. As soon as it was warm enough, I just planted all the seeds outside. I probably planted about 40 seeds. They're all 5 years old or so, give or take a year or two. I don't think any of them grew. None of them even sprouted. So it was just a complete waste of time, basically. But older seed packets like that, yeah. I've noticed that the beets, radishes, those are about the only ones that are growing right now that I got seed packets for. So, if I had an old packet, I just dumped the whole packet into one container, and if they grow, then I'll get like 100 of them that try to grow at once. So then you got to cut off all the seedling, or you got to cut off all the sprouts for all of them but one. And yeah, it just makes a big mess. But I figured, hey, it's better that than to throw away all the seeds or try to use one and then the one doesn't grow. So as far as indoor gardening, outdoor gardening, outer space gardening, it's going to take a lot of trial and error to see what works and what doesn't. Your soil is going to be different than anybody else's, as I alluded to in the first episode. And so yeah, just give it a shot though. You can eat healthy, you can eat fresh, and eat delicious, all that good fun stuff. So yeah, that being said, this is the 23rd episode of Tex Messages. As far as what week we're in, completely lost track of that. But yeah, we're definitely steaming ahead here. We're probably just going to go to four days a week. maybe cover some news and current events, not like boring news or fake news, just things that are present on the new physics or science or health websites, things of that nature. And hopefully it's not a bunch of phony nonsense. But I'm sure at some point we will be recanting and rehashing a lot of stories that I've been told many times before. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If I'm sure 4 hours of content a week probably will repeat ourselves at some point. I mean, it's teleprompter free. There's no script or nothing like that either. So there's that. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is in this newspaper here we have a, let's see, this is a local newspaper just for people in Elk River. We get the paper for free, pretty reasonable price. Yeah, it's mostly advertiser funding, so yeah, maybe I should buy stuff on here. But for the most part, it's just all local news. But one of the things that it had on here is Elk speech team talks their way to state again. Now, yeah, if people want to talk in front of a camera and do it in school and make it a competition, it's like, does everything really need to be a competition? I mean, for my entire life, I just saw talking and interacting with people as a way of entertainment. And yeah, it can be educational too, but it's just, when you try to set these boundaries for where people are supposed to operate in and say, oh, you can only do this, this, and this, you can't do anything else. As long as you do this, this, and this, you're defined as successful and as desirable, or whatever the case is. So it's just baffling that you take something so fundamental to humans like speech and make a competition out of it. I mean, like running. Yeah, if somebody can run faster than the other person, they're better than them. So yeah, go ahead, make a competition out of it, and everyone will be laughing and smiling. But it just ultimately, it sort of discourages people from doing it. I mean, say running and swimming, for example. Now, it's important to do them occasionally to be healthy and everything, but once you start making a competition out of it and saying so-and-so is better than this other person, so why is the other person even wasting their time doing it? It's a very destructive mentality, because then they're going to think that, well, I'm not good at running, so why should I even bother to walk or run or swim or do any of that kind of stuff? I'll just sit around and be lazy all day, and if somebody tells me I'm good at playing video games, then I can play video games. That's another thing too. Competitive video gaming. I mean, it's just, yeah, I get it's all fun and games and laughing and smiling, and a lot of people watch it. So, like I said before, who am I to say their judgment is any better or worse than mine? But at some point you just got to look at things and say, do you really need to make a competition out of it? I mean, a speech competition. When you watch these people on TV that talk, like the greatest president in the history of the United States, or the presidential candidate elect, and the head of the FBI, or all this other junk, most of them have prepared speeches, and it's just, what is even the point of speaking if there's a prepared speech like that? You can read any book. Somebody prepared this writing here. Jury delivers guilty verdict. I can read it. I'm not blind, not yet at least. And it's just, why would you need somebody to read it to you? Like when I was 2 and 3 years old, yeah, it was nice to have your mom read stories to you, because I guess you could learn the word better, or it was just fun or interesting story. And yeah, she read it word for word. She didn't make it up. But it would probably been better if she just made it up off the cuff, impromptu, improvised, and all that stuff too. But I mean, prepared speeches and teleprompters and making competition out of speech, it's just silly. I mean, I don't even get the point of it. It's like, oh yeah, so-and-so talked better than this other guy. It doesn't even make any sense. I mean, there's hundreds of talk shows out there, and different strokes for different folks. Like Tex Messages. Nobody watches this show, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just based on entertainment and personal preference. I mean, that's really all there is to it. Yeah, I suppose like advertising and things of that nature. I mean, we do zero advertising. I don't put any tags on the videos, so you can't really search for them, and it's just, for you ladies and gentlemen that are watching, this show isn't designed for a wide audience. It's esoteric for the individuals watching it, and for just a few people to be entertained. So two or more people is the goal of the show, and the producers and everything too. So I mean, if we wanted to get cute and competitive and all that junk with it, then I believe we would have to sacrifice the quality for you, the local, esoteric viewers. You know, I might have to just read a bunch of garbage that is informational and is national and internationally known news so that we could appeal to a wider audience. And it just doesn't seem to, it just doesn't appeal to me personally. I mean, it's like, you know, I'm not saying we're trying to be isolationist or anything and just talk to the folks in St. Cloud or Elk River or Minnesota or United States, but it's just, you know, you had to focus on, let's see, think of it like a very, very dense object. It's a small, dense object, and it just keeps collapsing within itself so that it's so strong and powerful that nothing can break it. That's kind of what I see with the show here. To have a very small, dense, just appeals to a select group of people, because there's hundreds and thousands of people out there that can run a talk show. I mean, you don't, if one, say, national media, for example, you have what, 5 different broadcasts on cable TV, or, I mean, nobody really watches that anymore, but I mean, so if you have such a centralized news for everybody, it's very bad and damaging and prone to propaganda, corruption, and just evil, bad people doing deceptive, coercive tactics that are very pernicious, and they're hard to recognize too. So, you know, when I was a kid growing up, I'd watch, well, probably not very often, but you know, if I would see cable news, I would just assume that everything on there is absolute, true, 100% fact. Same with reading textbooks too. If I'm in high school and I read a textbook, it's just, all right, this is 100% truth fact. I mean, who might have questioned it? Because if I did question it, I would get a worse grade. And I mean, if you saw my GPA in high school, you'd probably clearly recognize that grade averages weren't very important at that time. But you know, still, it's just when your performance is measured on how well you collaborate and bend down and grab your ankles and accept anything that anybody tells you, and you know, you follow the authoritarian principle. It's just, yeah, it makes life hard for everybody else. But you know what? Life is not meant to be easy, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, every day is a war. It's a battle. Not everybody out there is out there to get you, but for the most part, if people can't put a face on you, or if they're part of some corporate soulless entity, they don't have any problem steamrolling you and freight training you and crapping on you and trying to make life as miserable as possible for just simply to have a couple of bigger numbers on a line on a piece of paper or on a computer screen. That's really all there is to it, you know. People giving up their consciousness or selling their souls or allowing evil to corrupt them. So, I mean, you know, humans are designed so that good and evil exist, otherwise free will would not exist. I mean, if everything was good, there'd be no free will. And, you know, it'd be considered what the paradise of the afterlife, or whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, getting back to the speech, though, you know, speech grading and all that other nonsense. So, back in the good old days, we had this health class, and you know, they said, yeah, you know, make a speech about a disease or about some type of exercise, and you know, go to the front of the class and then just talk about it, and here's the criteria you should follow. This is how it's going to be graded and everything too. Sort of out the bat, it's telling you, go in this box, stay in this box, never leave the box. If you do leave the box, you're going to fail high school, and you're going to be worthless in life, more or less. That's basically what it was saying. That's what it told me. Now most other people, it's just easy enough to say, okay, yeah, I'll go inside the box, no problem. Easy enough. But who wants to what would life be without awkward situations, or if everything was easy? I mean, it just makes it more fun when it's challenging. Now, yeah, I mean, trying to stay warm in 20-degree Fahrenheit weather, that's one of those challenges that isn't something that you strive for or look forward to. But you know, that's part of being a winter soldier, and people that live in Minnesota, they're willing to make that sacrifice, because then you don't have to deal with homeless people like crowding up your streets and crapping in your yard or anything like that too, and then you get nice big land and you got 6 months out of the year to enjoy the summer. So it has a funny way of working where when you go through the troughs, there's also the peaks, the crests or whatever. So now to the speech grading, you know, work inside this box, do what we tell you, don't do what we tell you, get a failing grade, and then you're basically worthless in life. You're not going to be able to go to college, or you're not going to be able to get a decent job or get a decent pay and attract a mating partner that desires those types of features. So, you know, Yeah, I mean, I probably just half-assed and, got straight C's or whatever, didn't really care. I mean, I didn't really see a need to make a message at any point in time. It just, school was not important. It was more important to entertain friends, family, and people at school, basically. But, yeah, this particular health class, everyone would come up there. Here's how it would go. They would have they'd have an overhead projector. This was probably a little bit before PowerPoint. So they'd have an overhead projector. They would project their piece of paper up on the board. And then they would stand up there and say, Elk River City Council members received an update on the Line Avenue project, which calls for a cul-de-sac capping the roadway well before it reaches Twin Lakes Road. Does anybody really want to listen to that? I mean, number one, you can read everything they just wrote or typed yourself. You don't need to see them reading it. And then, of course, they say, oh, try to make eye contact, blah, blah, blah. Nobody ever did, because nobody cared. They're just, they'd come up there stone-faced and everything and say, with temperatures below freezing and inches of snow still on the ground, the Rogers baseball team sure picked a great time to take a trip to Orlando, Florida. Every once in a while, yeah, they might look up just trivially, but they're missing the whole point. The reason why you make eye contact with people is to say you're involved in this conversation. If you're not listening, I shouldn't be talking. I mean, that's really all there is to it. And there's this one girl. She kind of had a funny name. I wish I could say it on air, but unfortunately it might be slightly embarrassing. But yeah, she just went up there. She had she's I don't know if she got straight A's, but she gave off the impression that she was probably likely a successful student or seeked out success or thrived on being successful based in the authoritarian school district and just authoritarian principles. That's not to say that she's going to lead you into a gas chamber or anything. She seemed like a successful person that was good at taking orders or whatever the case may be, but had an independent mind too, as I learned after this particular instance. So she walked up there. She projects the image onto the overhead projector. She talks a little bit about the background of it. Yeah, this is how I did my research, the sources I looked into, and this is why I had a passion for it, and hopefully you can learn this and that from it. And she's like, but you know what? I'm not going to insult your intelligence and read it word for word, so hopefully you read most of it by now, and that was pretty much the conclusion of the speech. She just said, I don't want to insult your intelligence by reading word for word off a piece of paper. So it basically just crapped on everybody else that basically read word for word off the piece of paper that they had. I thought it was pretty hilarious. I mean, I don't know what grade she got on it, but it definitely left an impression because, I mean, this was, 20 years ago? So, I had a lot of respect for her after that, too. I mean, she was, on the swim team and all that goofy stuff, so she knew what discipline and hard work was and all that junk. So it wasn't just some lazy bum that sits around and reads books all day and, strives on succeeding in an authoritarian system. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting to have somebody that actually had independent thoughts and mind and a heart and a soul. Because, honestly, if you look at the school system today and the courts and everything, we're basically taught that the closer we are to artificial intelligence, the more intelligent we are. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to memorize all these words and definitions and mathematical formulas and principles and all that just so I can put it on a test that I know this stuff. Yeah, I mean, if I got nothing better to do, yeah, sure, why not? But I mean, would it be more important to learn how to raise chickens or raise cattle or shear wool or fix cars or to make race cars and all that stuff? I mean, it's based on how you prioritize. I mean, for some people, figuring out how to garden and grow plants and memorizing all the plants and how they grow them, when they should plant them indoors and transplant them outside, and yeah, that stuff is pretty important. But I mean, do you really need to memorize all this other stuff? And is it really important to say you're better at memorizing it than somebody else? Yeah, I mean, see, that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that I do now that during college, or obviously I didn't go to college, but during high school, if I was exposed to it, completely not interested in it. So, we had public speaking classes, but at that time, did I ever see myself standing in front of a camera for an hour and talking? Maybe, but inside the authoritarian school and government indoctrination system, completely lost any enthusiasm for it, did not want to work inside a box. So, your brain just completely shuts off to it. Yeah, you can stand in front of the class and talk and babble on and everything too. And if you want to send messages, or like that one girl did in the health class, which pretty cool person, definitely respect her for it. So, yeah, you can do that and send messages and everything too, but for me it was just entertaining classmates was more important than sending some esoteric, educational, existential message to people. Because, ultimately, I'll admit, I was beaten down by the school system. I figured, alright, yeah, I'm ranked almost dead last in my high school, so I must be completely mentally retarded or a borderline feeble mind imbecile. Thank God there's not eugenics, because I would have probably been hacked off a long time ago. So yeah, I just assumed I was a complete moron, idiot, loser, parasite. And yeah, that does sort of perpetuate into today too, but now it's mostly said in jocular fashion, in jest. And that doesn't mean obviously I don't think I'm a smart person. Yeah, I am a moron. It's not, the more you know, the more you realize what you don't know, but that's not to imply that I know a lot of stuff, because every single person you meet, they have a brain, they have 24 hours in a day, and most of them can function at a reasonably high level. So a lot of people you meet are going to know stuff that you don't know, and that'll completely shock and baffle and cause consternation within your mind that they know all this stuff. And that's assuming that they're functioning at a reasonably high level. If they have a healthy diet, if they got a healthy sleep pattern, if they got a healthy family, friends, work, health, hobby, all that stuff is in balance. And that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up to a break here. We're gonna talk more about speeches, because we had there was a particular instance in high school where a gentleman I know, he's a very hilarious guy. I didn't really know he was hilarious till he wrote these papers, and when he wrote these papers, then I decided, he was a really good artist too. But after he wrote these papers, then I knew he was just a next level comedian. But unfortunately, the teacher didn't see it that way. But we're going to get to that after the break. We're hopefully going to have good times, balls deep, in the near future. I was going to meet up with the host last weekend, Friday the 13th, and I had some car problems. So, I was looking over my car, and I noticed that the valve cover was leaking pretty bad. And which is good to recognize that, because when the valve cover leaks, it leaks oil onto the exhaust, and the exhaust burns off, then it burns oil, and then you smell a new car, and it's just not good, ladies and gentlemen. So what happens is the block is aluminum, the valve cover is plastic, so between that is a rubber gasket. It might have a piece of steel in there to give it some more integrity and strength and rigidity. But yeah, so I was looking, I was shining back there with the flashlight and everything, and just saw this big wall of oil on the back of the engine block. And when it's on the back, it's a little harder to see. When it's on the front, it's pretty easy to recognize. So yeah, I went ahead and went to rockauto.com and I ordered some valve cover gaskets, so I don't know if they'll arrive today or next week or whatever the case may be, but yeah, I fix the car, and then we meet up with the host of Good Times, Balls Deep, and then hopefully we can get something going and get something on the air pretty soon. And the other night too, I was looking to open an account on Daily Motion, hopefully upload some of the text messages on there, but it's just a really weird deal. There's something wrong with their website. I tried to open an account in my normal email and it just didn't work, and then when I was finally able to open an account, I wrote the email in wrong, so it wasn't the right email. And yeah, it was just a big mess. Maybe I'll try it again, or maybe try some of these other sites like rumble.com or whatever. But like I said before, we're not really striving to advertise this show to anybody. The people that watch it and enjoy it, a couple of guys at home or gals, that's mostly who we want to talk to. If it becomes a national show, yeah, no big whoop. We just keep doing what we're doing and hope for the best. And Good Times, Balls Deep. The host of that show, he's just a gifted speaker, orator. That's not to say gifted in the authoritarian sense, like he could be on a speech team and be the number one guy. It's gifted in, he has a passion for it. He's very entertaining at it. And he probably could appeal to a large audience, or just appeal to a small audience at a higher level. That's another thing too that you need to consider. Do you want to appeal to a small group of people at a high level, or to a massive group of people at a low level? If everybody followed their talents and did everything pedal to the metal, balls to the wall, you wouldn't need one person to appeal to a large audience, because you would have lots of small people to appeal to their small audience at a higher level. So ultimately, we would all win more. I mean, if somebody, like for example at the Princeton Speedway, if everybody that wanted to race cars and had a passion for it raced cars, there'd be a lot more cars there. It'd be more fun to watch. It'd be more entertaining. It'd be more competitive, and technology would grow. And it would just be a 360 win. I mean, yeah, for the racers, yeah, they wouldn't win as often if there's more competition in cars and everything. But I mean, most people do that just for fun and entertainment and to challenge themselves. So together, when everybody is healthy and following their dreams or goals or just trying to make America great again, everybody wins. And Good Times Balls Deep, they're going to have some more hosts on the show too, guest hosts and everything. And it'll just, it'll be a very passionate show, and yeah, hopefully it'll appeal to a lot of people, or to a small amount of people at a very high level. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I am rambling a little bit, so we'll be back in 3 minutes. You're listening to Text Messages. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Tex Messages. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're glad to have you here. This is the 23rd episode. It's April 21st, 2018. We're broadcasting out of Elk River, Minnesota. It's a nice sunny day out today. It's about mid-50s. A couple times the hens walked across the window here, so they're out there looking for food. They're enjoying their lives, having a good time, soaking up the sun, getting that vitamin D inside of them. Now, here's the thing. The sun doesn't directly traject vitamin D into you. When the sun's rays hit you, it allows your body to synthesize vitamin D. So that's how that works. So you think like, well, usually when you eat vitamins, it's through an oral, or you eat a meat or something, you get vitamin B, or you eat carrots and get vitamin A, or whatever the case, or you eat a citrus fruit and get vitamin C. So the sun, there's vitamin K too, and I don't know if there's a vitamin, there's vitamin E, definitely, but vitamin F or G or H, not sure. So I don't know how they get vitamin K and they forget about all those other ones. But yeah, vitamin E is very important too and healthy and all that good fun stuff. And you can get that in hemp seeds and tree nuts and everything. So basically any seed or nut that's grown in a fertile soil will probably have vitamin E in it. And yeah, so the sun's rays hit your skin or your face or whatever, and then your body can synthesize the vitamin D. So that's basically how that works. So that's why it's good to have sun. Now, if you're going to lay in the sun all day and get, the UV rays or whatever, yeah, maybe you will get skin cancer. I mean, I don't really know. It seems, there are people that lived on the equator for thousands of years, they got really dark skin, so I don't know if they get skin cancer or not, but, that's the thing. The progressive adaptation is what's really the thing to consider. I mean, if I just went to the equator now, I mean, my face looks like you just slapped me with a jar of mayonnaise, so you'd probably get sunburn, and yeah, maybe I would develop skin cancer and the body wouldn't be able to react to it fast enough to counter the deleterious effects of it. Whereas somebody that's been living on the equator for a while, they usually have very, very dark skin, or they don't have all these weird brown spots on their skin like freckles that I have here, and a lot of other people that have most of their ancestors grown up in northern, colder climates and everything, where the sun isn't out quite so often, and then it's not as hot too in the summer and fall and winter and springtime. But it is important to get sunlight. You'll feel better, you'll feel healthier, you get all the vitamin D and crap, and then your body can synthesize all that goofy stuff. So yeah, just get outside, especially on the weekend here. Oh yeah, you're probably wondering why we broadcast the show, or why we film the show on the weekends, but I mean that's just a convenient time to do it, and it's important to get the text messages out and Good Times Balls Deep. As far as when we will broadcast, like what day we'll film Good Times Balls Deep, I don't really know for sure, but someday, and we'll figure all those that minutia out in the future. But getting back to I don't have any research papers today. We'll bring them up tomorrow probably. Sunday I wanted to make it into a show where we just focus on research, current events, and health, physics, science, all that, and then not really abide by a central topic, because up to this point we've just been utilizing central static topics. Backdoor chickens, martial arts, swimming, diving, running, track, field. So we want to start establishing more of a dynamic show where we just read off current events, news articles, and then just provide my input or whatever, the producer's input or something. And yeah, someday maybe we will go to live twitching or Facebook Live and try to get more interactive. Maybe have some, I don't know if we'll get the big telephone system. I mean, that's pretty complicated stuff. And, I don't really want to give out a cell phone number either, because then the minutes would, I guess you don't really pay for minutes anymore. But for the most part, yeah, you got a laptop here, so maybe we will get some live streaming junk and people can ask questions on there and get involved dynamically and all that good fun stuff. But in the meantime, we're just going to film our show. It's uncut, uncensored, unedited. So it's more or less live, and then just upload it to YouTube. And I tried to get a Daily Motion account yesterday, but something was really funny about that website, so I don't know. There's a new one coming that's going to open on July 4th called Real.tv. It's basically for the Facebook castaways. I guess it's more like libertarian people that got kicked off of Facebook, and now I think a lot of them have been put back on Facebook. So apparently there's some kind of civil war going on Facebook where they want to kick people off or let them back on or whatever. So it's just a big mess, But yeah, maybe we'll join Real TV too and YouTube, but Daily Motion, I don't know. I don't know that I can trust that website yet, and then apparently Rumble has videos, but we'll see. I don't think we will ever open up our own website or our own web hosting web page or anything. That just seems like it's kind of a hassle and would take more time than I'd be willing to donate to a endeavor as this. 4 hours a week is plenty of time, and then reading a few research articles here and there. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the topic we've been talking about today is speech and great authoritarian graded speeches. Now, see, this is back in the good old days again. Probably around the same time of our health class, but not that same class, because we had we had an assignment where you picked 5 items that you would need to survive, just an apocalypse or whatever. I mean, I don't remember the exact, but it was something, 5 items you need to survive out by yourself in the wilderness for a very long time. And this one gentleman, he was he was a pretty busy guy, because he not only was he going to school, but he's also running a moving company. So his moving company, him and another gentleman would have a van, and they would drive the van around. And usually when people would go on vacation or leave their house for a long time, then they would volunteer to move out some of the items in their house. So they had a really efficient system, because when they would go to move the items out, they would usually just take all the good stuff and then put it into their van, and then they would take the crap and then break it down and dispose of it properly. So they were able to just get all the good stuff and then just take the crap and get rid of it. So I mean, it was a very good system. It was highly profitable for him. So I mean, he moonlighted his moving van, and then he went to school during the day too. And there's a particular paper he wrote once. It's like I never really knew he was. I mean, I suspected that he might be a funny man, but I mean, this kind of confirmed it, because he wrote the the 5 items that you need to survive. Now I'm going to do a horrible job of rehashing it. Hopefully someday maybe I can get in contact with him and he can actually get the real paper, and maybe we can post it on YouTube or something, or read it on air. But basically, the 5 items that he had to survive were the Oldsmobile, which was his car. He had the moving van, but then he had the Oldsmobile too, and then a revolver, extra ammo, chainsaw, and beef jerky. No, it seemed pretty logical stuff. And then, so when you started reading about it, it's like, well, I'm gonna get the Oldsmobile and drive it off somewhere, and then the chainsaw will be important for fighting off an army of the undead and cutting the seats off so that I can have more room in the car, and then I'll just eat beef jerky because it's awesome and it lasts a long time, and then I'll have the revolver for shooting practice to entertain myself, and then the extra ammo so I can shoot more. Now, the way I'm describing it, it doesn't really sound humorous at all, but I can assure you it was pretty damn funny, and I was literally laughing my ass off the whole time I was reading it. And here's where the problem came, though, because when the teacher got the paper and he read it and graded it and everything, he basically gave him a failing grade. Which, I mean, didn't really make any sense, because he followed their goofy-ass criteria of 5 items you use to survive, and then, he added an element of humor and comedy and entertainment into it that just brought it to a higher level than probably everybody else's papers, and he gets a failing grade. I mean, if anything, he should have got extra credit and, probably an A+, the best grade in the class. Hell, nobody else should have gotten an A. His paper should have been an A. Everybody else's should have been B+ or lower. That's how it should have been. But no, this teacher, big authoritarian guy, he might have been former military or whatever, just liked to follow orders and not think for himself. He was that. That's not to say that all people in the military are like that. It's just some people like to follow orders and not think for themselves. But most people, in fact, most people in the military are in it for the discipline and because they like being a part of something greater than themselves. So that's why they're in it. And 99% of them are probably just good, upstanding members of society and contribute and are absolutely making America great again, a lot greater than me and probably a lot of other people are. But this was a guy, he bought into the whole authoritarian stuff. He would fall for all the propaganda. And unfortunately, he was an educator at our local high school. And one day during class, he was just spouting off about, the gentleman's paper. He's like, oh yeah, he got so caught up in comedy, he forgot the criteria of the assignment and everything too. And it's just like, the criteria of the assignment was followed. Yeah, it wasn't strictly adhered to. He was not in the box. He's not the type of person that would lead you into a gas chamber. He's the type of person that would think about what he's doing and think like, oh, maybe bringing all these people in a gas chamber isn't such a good idea. So yeah, I probably won't do it. So he actually had an independent thought, and then he was able to parlay that into just outstanding comedy. That was probably the funniest paper that I ever read, and I didn't even know he had it in him. I just thought he was some guy that moved for people and drove his van and the Oldsmobile around and played guitar and everything too. But I mean, to read that paper, it's like I saw him in a whole nother light. He was just a next level comedian then. I mean, intentional comedy is very difficult to do. I mean, yeah, it doesn't appeal to everybody, but I mean, anybody that would actually read that paper would see the comedy in it and just feel a sense of well-being and happiness and contentment, and just laugh about it, you know, just have a good time with it. But yeah, you know, the teacher just decided to take the approach of crapping on him and failing him, and then he didn't pass the class. And I mean, I don't even know if he has the high school diploma or anything like that. But you know, a talented guy like him, you know, it didn't matter. He could make it in this world without government indoctrination camp. You know, whereas most people, it's, you know, like, you know, even me, you know, I graduated, but I didn't exactly graduate with honors. But I mean, I don't think I could have ever gotten a decent job without, you know, having a diploma, because it's just, you know, I'm not really good at anything. I don't have, at the time I was eating a very unhealthy diet and was probably leading a destructive lifestyle too. But, you know, for the most part, eating a healthy diet, you know, everything has come back into clear focus and perspective, and then I'm able to bring you guys this show. But yeah, going back to the moving van guy, I mean, he was also like a really, something else is probably, he's really good at painting and just doing artistry designs. Because one time, you know, we go to my friend's house and just hang out in his basement. You know, it's a concrete basement. It's got the, you know, the concrete walls. It's kind of, it was a little damp, but it was a fun place to hang out in and play loud music and everything too. So one day, you know, he has this knife that he's carving. He's just carving up the table for a few hours, and I really wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to what he was doing. But after he was done, he's just like, "Hey, check this out." And I looked at it, and it's like this band logo that was just like perfectly drawn to. I mean, you could, if you had a CNC machine with like 5,000th precision, it probably wouldn't have done a better job of drawing that logo than he did with his little crude knife and just hacking up one of those, you know, cardboard. Well, you know, it was one of those tables that wasn't full on wood, but it wasn't full on cardboard either. It was like, you know, when you get those peg hole boards, it was that kind of wood. So, you know, it's like all the wood particles are glued together. So he hacked that up, and it was just, yeah, I saw that. I'm like, man, this is pretty this is absolutely next level artistry right here. And to have that skill and talent and hand control precision, was there's only a very, very small percent of the population are gifted with that. So I mean, you know, this guy had all the gifts and tools to be successful at life if he so choose to. You know, if he chose to follow those paths that would allow him success. You know, if he wanted to be authoritarian and jump in the box like everybody else, yeah, I'm sure he could have did that. But when somebody has a lot of talents like him, they just choose to explore that talent and not even care about, you know, following the leader or jumping off a bridge with everybody else. And, you know, it's funny because later on that day, you know, the other friend that actually lived at the house, he came downstairs. And he looked at the table. You know, I think the moving van friend, he was already gone, or he went somewhere. He went to go maybe buy some lottery tickets or whatever. So then, you know, my other friend from upstairs comes down, and he looks at the table, and he knew it wasn't me that drew it. And he's just like, "Oh man, so-and-so did this? This is really good." You know, he was just looking at it like in shock. I mean, he wanted to, you know, laminate the table and hang it on his wall. I mean, he thought it was that good, and it was pretty damn good. I mean, I don't know whatever happened to it, but it just, yeah, when people have talents like that, it's good to see them, you know, it's good to see it manifest and that they have avenues that they can express that talent in. Now, I mean, yeah, would you get paid more money to get some government job that really contributes nothing to society? Absolutely. As opposed to, you know, it's like, yeah, he ran the moving van business, which paid pretty well. But, you know, it's selling art or providing artwork and everything. It's like a starving artist, for example. But, I mean, you know, a lot of people can find a good living off of that, especially if they're talented. I mean, if somebody like me tried to get into artwork, yeah, I'd fail catastrophically because I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing. Everything I do would just look horrible, like it was, like everything was drawn in an earthquake or whatever. So, somebody with talent that has avenues for that, it's just great to see. And I think that's ultimately what will make America great again. When people, everybody can utilize their individual talents and run with that and be a reasonably successful person and live a comfortable lifestyle. Now, that doesn't mean everybody that's good at art can be a millionaire. It just means you can live a comfortable lifestyle. You know, you can have safety, shelter, food, nourishment, love, caring, emotional support, all that stuff. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you don't always have to work within the box. I realize that, you know, we're trained and cultivated in our little government indoctrination camps from the age of 5 to 18 and beyond that to think and follow and hop in the box and everything too. But if you're talented at something, you don't need to do that. I'm sure 100% of you watching are way better at somebody at most of the population at something. I mean, who knows what it is? Maybe it's trap shooting, maybe it's canoeing, or maybe it's writing stories about ghosts and goblins. You know, whatever the case is, if you got a passion for it, if you got a talent for it, then and just take it to the next level. You know, put in the time and effort and energy and all that good stuff, and then you'll be happy and satisfied. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up to a break. We're gonna have Good Times Balls Deep. You know, the host of Good Times Balls Deep, yeah, he's a guy that he didn't go through the government indoctrination camp. That's why he has such a unique perspective on life, and that's what makes him so interesting and intriguing, and it's going to make him a next level host. Because, you know, me, I wasn't smart enough to avoid the camps. You know, I had to go through the camps just to feel good about, you know, mostly just because I needed to hang out with people and be around people and entertain and talk to people. You know, as far as the education, that didn't mean squat. But yeah, he has a unique perspective on everything. He's going to make really boring, mundane topics interesting, exciting, and great again. And he's going to shine light on a lot of bad, probably corruptible things that are going on in society, and allowing you, ladies and gentlemen, home to present it to you in an entertaining fashion so that you can pick up on it and see what's going on and just be better informed in everyday life. So yeah, I'm very excited for it. You know, that's the only. It's like, I mean, based on, you know, what you've probably seen and, you know, the ratings and everything. Yeah, I'm not a very good talk show host, but it's important to have this platform to explain to other people how they can follow their talents and look for their talents and everything, and just take that and run with it, because it just makes society as a whole a lot better when everybody else is utilizing their talents. It doesn't mean everybody has to sell insurance or be a lawyer because it pays a lot of money. It's just find your talent and run with it, and find a sense of purpose and well-being, and find love and care and emotional support. Everything else will fall into place. Yeah, that's really all there is to it, ladies and gentlemen. So Good Times Balls Deep is gonna make St. Cloud great again. Hell, probably gonna make Elk River great again, and Minnesota great again for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Tex Messages on the Parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Welcome back to Tex Messages, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're glad to have you here on Saturday morning, April 21st, 2018. We're in Elk River, Minnesota. It's about 60 degrees outside, so it's a very nice day. Probably a great day to hop on one of those pedal bikes and hit up some trails and get some sunshine and explore the city a little bit. Hell, you could even, what you can do is, if you got a car, you can get one of those little trailer hitches and stick a bike on that. Or if you got a bike where you can take the front tire off rather conveniently, take the tire off, stick it in the trunk, go drive somewhere, maybe to the Maple Grove trails or whatever, Stillwater, and enjoy the great outdoors. Because, yeah, in Minnesota, yeah, you can't enjoy the great outdoors every single day of the year. But when you can, definitely take advantage of it. If you had plans to go do some indoor activities, just cancel them and go outside, enjoy it, get some sunlight, and have a wonderful time. I mean, there's still a little bit of snow on the ground. There's probably, I don't even know if the trails are open yet, if Maple Grove, Elm Creek Trail, if that's open yet. It's like a 7-mile trail that, obviously it's in Maple Grove, but it touches Champlin and Dayton and maybe like Hamel or Medina, maybe, I don't know if it gets up that far north, or that far west, southwest, excuse me. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun thing to bike around in. You bike through the woods, over paths, or over streams and lakes and ponds and all that, so it's just a good time. Good way to be outside. One of the things, though, is there's a lot of trees and shade, though, so if you want to be in the sun most of the time, maybe it's not such a good idea. But the middle of summertime when it's 90 degrees outside and you're biking through the trees and the forest and everything, it's just nice and cool. And you got when you're biking, you're moving, so you got the wind blowing all the sweat off your face. And trees regulate temperature too. During summertime, a tree tries to stay above 60 to 70 degrees, the inside of it. And during the wintertime, it tries to do the same too. So if you're in the middle of a forest or if you're next to a lake or a pond, you'll notice that it's noticeably cooler than if you're, standing on black pavement or just standing out in the open in the sunlight. And that's because you have those temperature regulators around you. And, like, water is a very excellent temperature regulator as well, and it grabs heat out of the air a lot more efficiently than, air transfers heat itself. That's why when if you hop in 60-degree water, that's why you get hypothermia as opposed to being in 60-degree air, because it's just sucking all the heat away from you. During the summertime, 60-degree water would feel pretty, when it's 90 and 100 degrees, 60, 70-degree water feels pretty good for a little bit, but you still can't be in it for very long, because then your body system will shut down, your internal temperature will get below the 98 degrees, and you'll ultimately die. And you certainly don't want that. You certainly don't want any frostbite either. But just a great time to enjoy great outdoors, great day for that. Maybe I'll hop on a bike and bike around and see what happens, but we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. So that being said, we're talking about speech atrocities and grading and how everything has to be competitive, or you have to fit inside a box and everything. Yeah, it is a little frustrating because, do you really want to watch people read off teleprompters or read off a piece of paper word for word? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it'll be more informative and educational and all that stuff, but it's certainly not more entertaining. I'm not the smartest guy. I don't have a lot of good educational insight, and I don't have, valuable information or to, make you a genius or anything like that. But, we're trying to do the best we can with what we're given here, and just trying to hit the ground running, balls to the wall, pedal to the metal, hammer down, all that good fun stuff. So getting back to the speech grading atrocity. So now this, first, as a quick compendium, you had the girl in the health class, didn't want to insult your intelligence, just did not read word for word off her piece of paper. It was pretty cool, funny, awesome. Well, maybe not funny, but she's pretty awesome for doing that. And then, you had the moving man. He made this hilarious paper about, I guess it wasn't a speech, but, it's still a hilarious paper. Then the teacher crapped on him. And there's another thing he did, too. He, we had this, it's like a physics class, and we were talking about it was a biology class. We were talking about some type of cells and how the cells came into being and everything too, and the history of those particular cells. So he made up a paper. It's just like let the Lord of Darkness take you back in time and bring you to the present as far as cell history. You know, the teacher took one look at that. She's just like, well, I'm not going to grade this. And it's just, I mean, this gentleman here, he's just getting crapped on left and right. Yeah, I mean, he had like the long black hair and everything, and I'm sure if he wanted to, he would have wore face paint to school and everything. But so yeah, he had a bit of a unique look to him. So a lot of teachers crapped. He got a lot of heat for that. And a lot of teachers crapped on him for that. But I mean, I knew he was a pretty cool, rad dude. He's a genuinely good person, and yeah, ultimately he's living life in the fast lane now and contributing to society probably more than most of those educators could ever do themselves. So hey, you know, good for him, good for America, good for St. Cloud and Elk River in Minnesota. So all right. So yeah, as an educator, you definitely have a lot of responsibility to treat every student with respect and not allow your prejudices to take over. Now that doesn't mean, you know, I'm not talking about ethnic prejudices. You know, it's just more individualistic prejudices. If you're just prejudicing against one specific person just because you want to be a dick or whatever, it's just completely unacceptable. You should be stripped of your teaching job and have all your retirement benefits removed, and you should have to work a productive job the rest of your life for the consequences that you inflict upon these people. Because even though you don't really have the power to negatively influence people, you know that you do, and you're not afraid to use it. That's the problem that I have with those. And those educators, if they did ever listen to this show, they would know exactly who they are. And they would probably also know that they are most likely dirtbags. Probably they won't listen to the show though, but I sincerely hope they do someday so that they do understand how big a dirtbags they are. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, so now me personally, I went through, it wasn't really a speech grading atrocity, but it was a bit of an eye-opener for me, because I had this philosophy that when I do speeches in front of people, I do not read off of anything. You know, yeah, I'll have a little outline here with a couple words: Y converter, seed starter, seeds, plastic grow containers. So I'll just refer to that a little bit and then just do the speech, you know, no problem. So we had a communication disorders class that I was in. It was basically me and just all women. There's one or two other guys, but otherwise it's 20 women or so. So they laid out the groundwork. She's like, okay, to do this speech, you know, you have a maximum of, or however long you think you need the speech needs to be, you can come up here and talk and everything. They laid out a bit of a criteria, but of course I just completely didn't pay any attention to that. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to identify my topic and then make a brief outline and then just run with it from there. So, now basically the project was, you talk about somebody with a communication disorder and how they overcame it and all this other good fun stuff. And, you know, this, like I've said many times, you know, I had never paid a whole lot of attention to education, so you know, I got this, you know, we were going to the Viking Speedway that weekend. You know, we had a presentation on Monday. I volunteered to go first. You know, usually speaking in front of a group of people is always fun to do, and I figured, hey, if I can set the criteria for horribleness, then good, go ahead. You know, then everybody else, you know, if everybody sees how terrible my speech is, then they'll all feel comfortable doing their speech. So, yeah, I always volunteered to go first. So you know, Monday morning I had to put together a speech or whatever. So, yeah, like Saturday night, we were driving to the Viking Speedway. You know, I got this little textbook here, so I read the textbook and didn't take any notes or anything, just tried to memorize it and figured, all right, yeah, I think I'm good to go. So Monday morning, you know, I wrote down a few outlines, like, talk about this, and this, and that. And so I walked up there and I just basically rambled on and on for, I think it was about 20 to 25 minutes, which, you know, the teacher didn't set a criteria for how long the speech needed to be, but yeah, it probably was a little over the top and maybe a little longer than it should be. But, you know, I didn't read any, you know, I was making eye contact with people, you know, staring into their soul like, please, are you listening, or can you hear me running, or whatever, silent running, great Mike Mechanic song. But yeah, you know, just making eye contact with people, trying to get involved, trying to get them to pay attention. You know, if people weren't looking, if they're looking down or something, you know, stare at them a little bit longer and be like, hey, you want to get involved in this, or you just want to sit there like a useless parasite, or whatever the case is. So that was something I always liked doing, you know, rather than just, some teachers, they would say, stare at the back of the wall, or imagine everybody naked, or all this stupid, silly stuff. And it's, number one, it's extremely disrespectful to the audience to do that. I mean, if you're in front of a group of people and you're talking to them, you better be at least including them from an eye contact point of view. You know, I'm just going to sit up here, like, ladies and gentlemen, if I ran this show like this, our players in Florida are young pitchers, Elk River takes out Rogers in the frozen tundra. It's going to be a complete slap in the face to anybody who's taking time out of their busy days being productive members of society to listen to it. So anytime I did a speech, I would absolutely not read off a piece of paper. I would not have a stupid PowerPoint or read off a projector or anything. And just talk to the people in the audience. You are talking to them. If they want to ask questions, you're talking with them. So that's the philosophy I followed. And I got into it and I talked for 20-25 minutes. I followed pretty much all the bases I need to cover with this book. I didn't rehash it word for word based on photographic memory or nothing. But I thought the presentation was okay. Maybe didn't follow the criteria or whatever the hell the criteria was, but I ended up getting like a 30% out of 100 or 30 points out of 100, which was probably literally the worst grade I've ever gotten as far as, a speech or a paper or anything like that. It's like, what is a teacher supposed to do? I went what I thought was above and beyond. I figured, I had a dearth or a deluge of content, and I thought I presented it fairly well. I was trying to get people involved, staring into their souls, and nobody really asked any questions because people were all nervous about doing their report and everything too. So when I saw that grade, it floored me a little bit. But I wasn't going to push the issue. It was just like, all right, if the teacher sees me as a complete worthless piece of garbage who has poor judgment and doesn't deserve to succeed at a high level in speeches, then fine, so be it. I wasn't going to go in and have my parents call the teacher and say, oh, why is, Rick getting a bad grade? That's absolutely not the criteria that I followed. And unfortunately, I think most teachers just give people a good grade because they're worried that their parents will call and complain. Whereas, that doesn't happen in our family or anybody I know that's a respected member of society. So we don't complain about other people's judgment usually. If they're poor, destructive, like if you market sugar to children with the intent of killing them, I will question that judgment. But other judgments of who should have a nude sculpture in their yard or something, not a big deal. It's not something I should care about or or I should not need to go to city council and have them castigated for it or anything, or whatever the case may be. So then the next day, the teacher comes up. She's going to set a 10-minute time limit on everybody's speeches, and they're going to hold up the 2 fingers when 8 minutes and there's 2 minutes left, and it's just so I one of the complaints is that one of the complaints about my speech is that I appeared not to have to be ready for it. Or I did not have a stricter criteria or piece of paper to follow off. That was basically the only complaint. That was the only feedback I got from her. It's sort of like when you apply for jobs, and these guys, you apply for jobs, you walk in there, you talk to them, and then, you walk home, or drive home, bike home, and then you don't hear from them. So you try to call them a couple times, they don't answer, and it's like, alright, so I spent hours of my day going to your facilities to talk to you, get interviewed and everything, and you can't even take 5 seconds to tell me why you did not want to hire me. How hard and disrespectful is it to potential employees if you're not taking a few seconds just to say, hey, we thought you smelled funny, you had some weird pubic hair on your face, so we didn't want to hire you because of that. Think of how much that would help the employee for their future jobs. If you just take 2 minutes to tell them, hey, we didn't like you because of this, that, and the other thing. But instead, they had to be chicken crap and just totally ignore you and disrespect you, disrespect the country, disrespect themselves, and just not even take any time to help people when they're in a unique opportunity to do so. See, that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. You are going to find yourselves in unique opportunities to help other people. And unless you have a very, very, very good reason not to, you absolutely should. It'll be reciprocated. It'll make your societies better again. You'll feel better about yourself, about your family, about America. And it's just the right thing to do. So, these job employers that just want people to waste all their time applying for jobs, coming in for interviews, and then they just crap on them and say, we filled the position, can't tell you why though, and we're not going to answer your phone calls or reply to emails, just going to completely ignore you like you're some piece of shit. It's just, people, just because you have power or authority over people in certain circumstances doesn't mean that you can wield it and use it to crap on them or anything like that. It'll come around eventually, whether it's in this life or the afterlife. I think that's a good thing to conclude the show on, ladies and gentlemen. There is an afterlife. We're going to figure it out someday. So don't get too worked up in this world, all right? Now, it's easy to get caught up in money problems or emotional problems, and maybe your car isn't working or it broke down or the valve cover is leaking oil and the brakes aren't working. But for the most part, it's temporary existence here on this planet. And hopefully you make the right choices and the right decisions and accept your free will and know that there are temptations out there and temptresses out there as well. And that you always have to make the right choice and that every day is a battle, life is a war. And there are some people that literally sacrifice their whole lives or their potential of procreation because they follow the American principles, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the right to practice any type of religion you want to. So I mean, to stand up here and say stuff to people as opposed to getting shot at or getting bombs blown up is a pretty easy thing to do. But I mean, you have to be in the mindset that you need to challenge yourself at some point. I mean, does that mean I should go out and start shooting a bunch of random people because I think that it's an honorable thing to do? Absolutely not. You got to make good judgment too. At any avenue in your existence. And everybody you meet is going to know something that you don't know. Everybody's got a brain. They got 24 hours in a day, so you can't be better at everybody at everything. You just have to accept some of your shortcomings, work on your strengths and weaknesses, and just try to make your communities great again and not crap on people. If you're in a unique opportunity to take 2 minutes out of your time to tell somebody how they can better themselves based on your perspective, and that'll significantly help them in the future, you absolutely should do that, and there's absolutely no excuse not to. And if you don't, yeah, you probably are a lesser person and should really question your morals and principles. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have good times, balls deep in the near future. The host he'll be a little bit different than me. He's a way smarter guy. He pays more attention to like politics and current events, things of that nature. See, like me, I mostly focus on health because it's a need that I need to fulfill. Having surgeries as a young kid and, like missing half my teeth and all that stuff. It's important to be very healthy, the canary in the coal mine, etc., etc. So the host of Good Times, balls deep. He's a very smart guy. He didn't go through the government indoctrination camps. He's going to make America great again. He's going to make St. Cloud great again, and ultimately he's going to make talk shows great again too. So, but it takes a while because he wants to have a good, high quality show. And I need to apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I don't mean to come on here and just chastise people. Look, I understand everybody out there is just trying to do the best they can and make their families great again and everything like that. And most people don't intentionally try to crap on others. I mean, yeah, it probably is accidental in most scenarios, or they just don't realize or understand it or have never been in a situation to recognize it. So I mean, I don't mean to just come on here and insult anybody. Anybody who's making an honest living that's not trying to kill people or do bad stuff is probably a good person. So just don't take that as I'm just insulting everybody and thinking I'm on a ivory tower here talking down on everybody. Because most people contribute more to society than I do. I mean, that's just the fact of nature, ladies and gentlemen. So that being said, we'll be back tomorrow. I'll cover some news, current or probably health related articles. We got some junk about Monsanto and hemp seeds and toxic mattresses and all that. So maybe I'll cover that tomorrow, maybe I won't. But for the most part, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Tex Messages, episode 23. Just identifying speech grading atrocities. If you want to do something in your life and you think, just follow your own judgment. Yeah, I mean, there are criteria. You can kind of look at them and refer to them to, as the group collective, this is what is seen upon favorably. But I mean, if you want to if you want to make the criteria great again, you have to inject your own judgment and just follow your own path. Because, if the collective is ever going to change or be great again or get improved upon, you need to have everybody following their own path and blazing their own trail and making themselves great again. Because then that'll make just everything else great again. You are an individual and all that stuff. Two people make one, and everybody's unique. They all got their own DNA, and even biological twins, they got their own DNA too. So you're listening to Tex Messages, ladies and gentlemen, episode 23. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for listening.